Sound familiar? Well, prepare to be transported back in time. The days of Thunderbirds, Stingray and Joe 90, just a few of the iconic children's TV series created by Gerry Anderson. It's over 60 years since the fantasy, rocket-blasting, world-saving puppets took over our screens. This weekend, a special concert at the Symphony Hall in Birmingham will recreate the music of his shows. But did you know that many of those FABE sound effects were made in Birmingham? Ben Sidwell's been on a top-secret mission to find out more.
They're some of the most iconic TV programmes ever produced, but it's a little-known fact that the classic sound effects for shows such as Thunderbirds and Stingray were produced right here in a recording studio in Birmingham.
Just the sound of debris falling afterwards.
The shows were created by Gerry Anderson, and at Grosvenor Road Studios in Handsworth, his son Jamie has given me a guided tour through some of the much-loved effects that brought those programmes to life.
In Stingray, Phones and Troy sit in their seats in Control Tower, and then they are injected down into Stingray. So this is the sound of the injector tubes.
Creating the sound effects back in the 1960s were John and Jean Taylor, who owned Hollick and Taylor Studios, as it was called back then.
Gerry would come and they'd see some of the rushes, and then they'd have to make the sound effects for the explosions or the rockets going into the air, and they'd often just look around the studio or go into the garden just behind us, find pebbles or nuts and bolts, and they'd just shape them and experiment, Foley type of sound effects, and that became an iconic part of the sound of Thunderbirds.
But the programme's sound effects weren't the only thing to come from Birmingham. Probably the most famous character in any of Gerry Anderson's shows was created by John Blundell, a puppeteer based here at the city's Midlands Arts Centre.
Come in, Parker. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Keep a lookout for a stranger leaving the building.
Yes, milady.
I was trying to think about the kind of cliché butlers in typical black and white English comedy films. The profile is extremely important, and look at him, he looks a little bit like a parrot.
Just to know that part of that iconic show, and such an important part, was created here, really. Its spirit and its origin is in Birmingham. It's kind of unusual, but a really lovely piece of the puzzle.
On Saturday, a concert celebrating the music of Gerry Anderson's shows will take place at Birmingham Symphony Hall, in the city that helped to shape the sound and look of these treasured programmes. Ben Sidwell, BBC Midlands Today.
Isn't that great? Of course, you probably don't know this. Shafali tried to buy a house on Tracy Island, which she was gazumped by brains. Weather details are go.
Or not, as the case may be.